if you decide not to run again, which Tim decided not to run again, it just seems like, sabotage to be basically bad-mouthing a candidate with evidence-free claims. So I pointed out to Tim, what you're saying isn't actually evidence. It's just an opinion. His response, yes, that is my opinion. Don't care much if that's not enough evidence for you. I do not believe in two sides for every story. That's bull. There's not two sides for every story. That's called he said, she said journalism. So what corporate media does is to pretend they are neutral observers. They put out, this is what this side says. This is what this side says. We're neutral. You figure out the truth. I don't play those games. Nobody's neutral, and nobody's, frankly, clearly objective. Okay? So I reached out to Tim for comment because I thought it was at least fair to get his comment. But the truth is, and again, this is not because I don't like Tim, but I just have to be honest with my audience. The bottom line is I've seen multiple screenshots now at this point of Tim Canova bad-mouthing this candidate. Tim has reached out to me, frankly, way over the line, essentially through text, yelling at me that I dared even interviewed her months ago. I've seen his tweets in recent weeks and months. The bottom line is, Tim is pushing bullshit claims that he has no evidence for to try and damage the current progressive candidate. Those are the facts. I'm not going to have him on because he told me he doesn't have evidence for these claims. He gave me that comment. So I don't believe in giving people a platform to spew bullshit. He doesn't have any evidence for his claims. So again, why is Status Coup covering this? Because this kind of thing is not just happening in Florida. This kind of stuff behind the scenes where progressives are basically eating each other's own and dividing and conquering each other, it happens all the time in the progressive movement with, so-called progressives. And I think Tim genuinely believes in Medicare for all, a Green New Deal. He's written great things about the Federal Reserve in the past. This is not, I am not anti-Tim Canova. I am not wishing him anything negative. But the truth is, if you want Debbie Wasserman, if your goal is to take down Debbie Wasserman Schultz, if your goal is to take down corporate Democrats, okay? I think it would behoove progressives, I think it would behoove former candidates, if you have an issue with the current candidate, come out publicly, say what your issue is. If you are making bold claims like they're funded by George Soros or their campaign manager is secretly a double agent for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, have some evidence to back it up. Then the candidate could respond, let it be a 3-day thing, and then be done with it. But if you're going to do all this behind the scenes, and there were other communications Tim and I had claiming that he's not trying to sabotage her and he hasn't said anything publicly, to me it's worse that you're saying all this behind the scenes, pushing this nonsense to people in the progressive movement, to people that have shows and media networks to try and get them to not have Jen on. I know for a fact I'm not the only person he pushed not to interview Jen. He's pushed people with much bigger platforms than me not to give Jen a platform. And again, whether Jen Perelman beats Debbie Wasserman Schultz or not, it ain't my job to elect Jen Perelman. I think she's a good candidate. I've met her in person. I think she's genuine for Medicare for all. I think she's genuine for a Green New Deal. I think she's genuine on reparations for black people. I think she's genuine on criminal justice reform. She was talking about criminal justice reform and legalizing marijuana way before these current Black Lives Matter protests. So I think she's a good candidate, but it's not Status Quo's job to elect her. So this segment isn't particularly like a defense of her or trying to prop up her campaign. This is a defense against high school bullshit in the progressive movement. If you want to seize power, stop eating your own. Tim, might very well just think Jen's not progressive enough. Or Tim might be bitter about how his campaign ended. Okay, but then you should have ran again in 2020. If you weren't going to run again, why are you spending all this time bad-mouthing the current progressive candidate who might have a chance against Debbie Wasserman Schultz? And this, by the way, again, this happens all the time. So to those of you saying, why not have him on? Because he's spewing bullshit without evidence. And journalists should not. I don't understand, frankly, half the time, CNN has Rick Santorum on 24/7, who is a lunatic who spews bullshit and propaganda all the time. No. It's not. Journalists should not just have people on to spew their conspiracy theories and propaganda. That's not show both sides. He just said, it's my opinion. Okay, well, if it's your opinion, maybe you should stop telling people in the progressive movement, the progressive community, people who have platforms that could actually have the progressive candidate on, because you chose not to run for a third time. If it's your opinion, they're like assholes. Everyone has them. So if you don't have evidence about this, I would say, why, you're pushing this stuff out. You could pretend he said to me, I'm not saying this publicly. I'm not sabotaging her. Well, what do you think it's doing behind the scenes when you go around telling every little person, progressive activists, potential voters, potential people who might endorse her, media personalities with large platforms, that she's Soros owned and her campaign manager is a double agent working for Debbie Wasserman Schultz? I actually think it's worse that he's doing all this behind the scenes. I'd rather him just say it publicly. So no, I'm not going to have Tim Canova on, because I'm not going to just give a platform to people to spew bullshit. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com, where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.